Everybody, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Commissions and Cash Flow Show. I am your host, Andrew Lasky, and today we have a very amazing guest, Ian Lenhart. Ian, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm so excited. This is awesome. The show's great, and you were made for this.
So, Ian, you're a very interesting guy in so many ways, awesome human being, but even better salesperson, entrepreneur. You've done a little bit of network marketing, you've done tech sales. You also own your own business, cigars.com, which is amazing premium cigars. So just give the audience a little bit of background about yourself and how you got into sales.
Yeah, totally. It all started with someone pitching me on an energy drink, which is how I fell into the network marketing hole. And I'll always talk about that because I don't do it anymore, but it was sort of the gateway drug to entrepreneurship for me. Because it's the first time in my life that I realized I could go out and make my own money and I could have uncapped income. What I love about that industry is it teaches people for very low costs. It gives them an opportunity to be awakened. And I think that's a really good word. Most people, if their parents were entrepreneurs or like their uncle or aunt or someone in their close life was an entrepreneur, they don't know any other path exists. If your parents are chefs, you just see being a chef all the time. So I think just being introduced to the possibility is really important. And that's ultimately what led to my career. So got into network marketing early on, did that for many, many years, still do some stuff on the side. Joined as first employee for a tech startup, doing facial recognition, and did the whole Silicon Valley journey, going through a startup accelerator and having to go through product market fit and figuring out how to sell technology that wasn't quite built yet. And, all the woes there. And ultimately, teamed up with, my good business partner, Matt Dodge, big shout out, and created cigars.com, which is the online place for people to create their own custom cigar for events, weddings. And just recently we became number 7 on Google. So really excited. It's been 4 years coming and now we're number 1 we're almost coming for number 1. So got to just stick with it, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, just seeing you guys launch that company. I remember we were smoking cigars on a rooftop somewhere in Miami, and just the whole idea of making it very unique with the custom branding around it. I just knew it was going to be a very big hit, and to see where it's come today has just been amazing. And seeing where it's going to go next is even better. So going back to now the network marketing part, you're a very good communicator, even better networker. I call you the power connector. You're really good at bringing people together. How important is a skill set like that in the network marketing industry, but also in the other industries that you've been in as well?
Great question. And shout out to you, because when we started cigars.com, you were the first person I know in my life that said, I want to invest. I appreciate you.
Still do.
Thank you. You've always just been the biggest supporter. Yeah. So you're talking about relationships. And when people think about sales, there's that friend, like How to Win Friends and Influence People. There's that book, apologies, How to Win Friends and Influence. It's an amazing book. But I think I just really internalized that in my life. I guess everyone has to know their superpower. And my superpower is I really like people. I'm an extrovert. I like being around people. Not always. Sometimes I just want to Netflix and chill. But sometimes I want to be around people. And it's kind of come natural to me to want to be around good people. I like being the dumbest person in the room, right? I get sort of edgy when I am not in that situation. So every time in my life, I've always tried to meet the most outstanding humans. And that doesn't have to be financially. I think, something I love is, we have a mutual friend. He's a chef, right? He's one of my favorite people ever. He does very well for himself, but I love Chef Michael. I love, Peter Taunton, who's the founder of Live Ramp. I love my buddies from my hometown. You just have to appreciate aspects in people and find people genuinely curious and build a real relationship with them. That's not built around fakeness. It's not built around success. It's built around, like, if you were to lose everything tomorrow, I want you to believe, because it's the truth. If I'm your friend, you're still my friend. A lot of people can't say that in their life. A lot of people aren't being truthful to themselves. They're trying to act as if. I like the whole idea is like, be it till you become it, not fake it till you make it. And that's just how I am with.
Can you repeat that for the listeners? That was great. Great quote right there.
Be it till you become it, and don't fake it till you make it. Because if you're that guy for a long enough period of time, people gravitate towards you. You get the phone calls, but you got to build the foundations brick by brick. And it starts with just not being a shitty person. Just be a
Yeah.
good person.
Yeah. And when it comes to strengthening these relationships, because a lot of people, when they go out and they network, or if they go to any event, and look, people are there to do business, and it can really come off as like transactional. But you've been able to just build really, really deep, long lasting relationships. How have you been able to do that? Like, let's say somebody's brand new, they want to get out there, that they need to obviously earn money, but at the same time play the long game. So how would you recommend somebody being like authentic knowing that situation?
Yeah, I guess I think about it sort of as tiers, right? I have like my tier one friends, like Drew, you're a tier one friend for me. And there's not that many tier one friends for me. Like it's a smaller group. Those are the people I'm calling for, like something goes down with my family. Like I'm calling my homies, right? Like that's tier one. But tier two is huge for me. Tier two is people that I could call, they'd pick up. If they called me on something, I'd help them out. And we have like, I'd invite them to my house for parties and gatherings. I'd love to get dinner with them. And then like tier three and beyond is something that you can keep going on Instagram and things of that nature. But you need to do something that encourages you to build relationships. So just you starting this podcast, I'm a huge fan of podcasting, because all a podcast is essentially a forced conversation where you're basically locked in to learn. So everyone that's listening right now, you're locked in and learning. You might be multitasking, doing something, but there's a nugget, there's something that's going to stand out that might change your life. So if you start a podcast, you're going to basically force yourself to be in a room with someone for 30 minutes to an hour, and you're going to ask them intimate questions. And the more you get to know someone on an intimate level, and this isn't like in a weird way, this is just like as a person, you get to relate more with them. And I think the best communicators, the best salespeople are people that are able to relate with everyone, right? So you kind of have to be a chameleon. You have to meet people where they're at, meet them at their energy, find what they like, and show interest in what they like. Show that you care and show that you're open to learning the things that they're interested in too. Too many people have a selfish demeanor when they meet people. It's me, me, me. I want to talk about me. No one likes those people. It's like, brother, like you want to be one of those people that's tell me about you. I want to learn about you. And that's the secret to making friends and building your network.
Yeah. I remember when you were doing the network marketing, I used to see you up on stages. I think you even had, won a BMW at one point. And so again, you're really good at building those relationships, and it did turn into business, both long term, but you also were able to do it pretty quickly as well. I think you were in college when you were, becoming very successful, starting to be successful. So how were you able to build that long-term relationship, but also benefit, yourself and also the person that you were doing business with?
I just think it was being authentic and never changing who I was, right? So I always stayed in touch for the most part with the leaders in that company and that industry. And I always tried to have little touch points every now and then. And that came from just, again, asking about them and developing some sort of relationship beyond just like, who are you? What are you? That's when I was living in LA, I lived in Miami. I'm in Tampa right now, going back to Miami. But when I lived in LA, I felt like a lot of people were like, what are you and not who are you?
Yeah, like gimme, gimme, gimme instead of,
Yeah.
providing
It's
value.
all about me. It's all about me. Or like, what can you bring me versus what can I bring you? I mean, that's just I hate when people generalize an entire area because that's just insane. There's great people everywhere, but generally speaking, what I'm saying? But I just think that, I looked at network marketing because I was in a lucky situation in the sense that all of those people sort of became this sort of like business club or community, meaning a lot of people that didn't make a lot of money back then ended up crushing it in other things, right? But there was this underlying group because for network marketing, I was in college and we were all selling energy drinks. And imagine this, everyone in your college gets pitched on an opportunity to sell energy drinks, right? Some people got pitched by someone better or for someone worse, but everyone got pitched. Only a certain percentage of those people are going to actually do it and be like, oh, that's a good idea. So you put all those people in a room that thought it was a good idea, and you're going to get some mind melding of people that believe in at least the root of entrepreneurship, like, let's get it. And good things happen. I mean, you need to be in a room with other motivated people, right? You need to find your people and you stick with them, and long term it pays off.
Going back to that, what was it that made somebody either having a very good pitch, selling an energy drink, or the one that wasn't? Did it have to do with, being motivated and wanting to be an entrepreneur, or was it more of certain like sales tactics that you noticed that made one person more successful than the other?
I think it was a lot of learning. People want to feel like they're consuming and learning. So you can give value to someone beyond just giving them dollars. You can give value just by teaching and by being a positive light in someone's life. Like that's a way you could be a value add. Cause I think the bigger picture is value add. Like how do you add value? And network marketing is different than entrepreneurship. It's very different than enterprise sales, right?
Mhm.
All of them have their pros and their cons. Like that's just a fact. But I think generally speaking, it's for me, what worked well for me was building an awesome culture where everyone had each
People
other,
wanted to be around you.
because we were having a good time. And that didn't mean we were just like partying and being a savage. Some people were great at that type of thing. It was more just we were having a good time and we were believing that the future was going to be amazing, right? You couldn't tell me back then that we all weren't going to make it, you know?
Yeah.
And you
So,
can,
no, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
So in terms of like believing and really, seeing like a future with the hard work that you're putting in. So you went from network marketing to getting into enterprise slash like tech sales where, you worked at a company where you said you were the first employee. I mean, that takes a lot of belief to really go out and work at a startup and see that all the way through, because a lot of people, they want to work at a stable company where there's already like a really nice comp structure, but to go and sell something where I think you said the product wasn't even fully finished yet. Explain the shift that you had to go through, like as far as any challenges selling a product that, with the network marketing kind of had a brand name behind it, but now this is a true startup.
Yeah, it's such a good question. It's probably the most value someone will get, especially if you're just breaking into this world. I remember when I was in network marketing, I kind of had a fast rise. Like I was crushing it. And I also, that company got shut down as an alleged pyramid scheme, which, I actually ended up having the founder on my podcast and he told the whole story 3 years later on my show, which was really cool. And we're still good friends today. He ended up winning that court case, which is crazy. It's called Vima. You guys should check it out. But anyways, wild story. But back then I realized I'm like, damn, man, I had the BMW, I was making the bills. Like I felt good. And then it kind of got taken away. And that's humbling, but you need to get humbled in life to ever grow. So at the time, I knew I wanted to learn practical skills in tech because people in tech were having these huge exits. And I dreamt of one day having a big exit. But step one is just getting a foot in the door. So what I did was I made a list of 200 companies I found on CNET and TechCrunch. And then I went on LinkedIn, used hunter.io to find emails and cold emailed over 200 founders and CTOs saying, my name is Ian. This is what I've done. I'm just trying to get a foot in the door. Out of those 200 companies, 5 got back that were promising. And one of them was a company called Chewy, which turned into TrueFace. I got connected with Sean Moore and ended up working for free for a significant amount of time and eventually came on as first employee. And, that changed my life because now I wasn't like Ian Lenhart, network marketing elite. Now I was tech bro, now I was
Yeah.
the guy that, was having these very exciting conversations with top tiered C-level executives, learning that high level negotiation when you're negotiating $100,000 to $1 million contracts. It's a whole different business set of skills, but you got to get in the game to understand how it works. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And so when it comes to enterprise sales, for somebody that's looking to get into that industry, what does the typical day to day look like? How are you prospecting customers? I know you mentioned that you were pulling emails with Hunter.io, but what does your day look like?
Well, if you're just getting in enterprise sales, it's kind of hard to sort of surpass the whole BDR situation. A lot of tech companies will put you right into a BDR situation where you're just setting meetings for someone else. And by all means, do that, but it is possible to bypass that. And how do you do that? You go and get a deal, right? A lot of times people want the offer letter with everything they want, but they haven't done anything. So my advice is go out and sell a deal and bring it to the CEO and you'll get jumped up the pit right into an account executive or even an enterprise account executive.
When you were working for free, because you said that you did that for, a good amount of time, is that the type of value that you brought to that company where then they brought you on as the first paid employee, or how did that kind of come about?
It was more it was more sort of, I assumed that if I put my heart into it, they would reward me. Does that make sense? Like I
Mhm.
made that back, that free time and equity. But think about this. If you were to start a company, put it in the listener's view. Everyone thinks about things differently when they start a business. Imagine you take a loan of $250,000 of your own money. Could be like everything. And you put your heart and soul into starting a business and you're hiring Drew Lasky. Like, if you're Drew Lasky, how do you impress me enough to make me feel confident that you can shepherd my baby,
Yep.
and that you can represent my brand? So, if you think like a business owner, you start to think backwards. What would I want to see if this was my company? And the people that start thinking about their sales role like they own the business, those are the people that crush it fast
Mhm.
because they just have a whole different demeanor. They approach conversations different and they do more. Most people just do the bare minimum, man.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. They really do. And they call them like entrepreneurs. It's not their business, but they act as if it is their business and they can take it to a whole other level. And those are the people that come the most successful. How were you able to still perform at your enterprise sales job and start a company on the side? I know a lot of sales managers listening to this probably wouldn't like your answer, but I think time management is a very important skill set that everybody's trying to refine and get better at. So you've been able to build a company on the side. Like, how are you able to perform and actually do that?
The biggest word here is it depends. There's no perfect answer to this. Everyone is sort of in a different situation. So, generally speaking, one principle is you never go full time with your side hobby until you're making 2x the revenue that you are with your current hustle. Like, that's a good rule of thumb
Mhm.
because so many times people go all in on their side hustle and it sucks when, things don't go to plan. And guess what? It's not going to go to plan. But largely, how do you do both? You got to just understand time blocking, meaning most people, when they say they're working, they're not really working. They send like 3 emails in an hour and then they go get a coffee and they go to the bathroom. Like they don't understand productivity. It's less about output and it's more about being intelligent with your time.
Mhm.
So I ask myself, what does this business owner need to see from me to recognize me as a top person working for this company? And how can I protect my future with the amount of work I'm doing? So if you're in a big team, you better be top 3 in that team before you're doing all these side hustles. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Because here's the
Yeah.
thing. If you're bringing deals in, no one gives an F what you're doing on the side. And that should be the biggest realization for everyone. If you're doing your job and bringing money in, what you're getting paid for, no one cares. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. But the people that stop performing and now aren't answering calls, it's on you, man. As my dad says, handle your shit, you know?
Look, it all comes down to revenue generating activities. Like you mentioned before, people get so caught up answering the phone, talking to a buddy, talking about dinner reservations or going out to lunch and taking a 2 hour lunch. And, it's all about actually putting in the proper work. And so for somebody that's looking to get into like enterprise sales, what are those revenue generating activities? And the reason why I asked that is because, I just transitioned from medical device sales into real estate. And now my world's completely different. I was driving an hour and a half, 2 hours to meet face to face with a doctor. And if I wasn't doing that, well, then I wasn't making any money. Now, if I'm not in front of my computer talking to people on LinkedIn, phone calls, doing Zooms, I'm not making money now. It's a completely different sales process. So, going back to enterprise sales, what are the revenue generating activities and how can somebody just time block and be successful?
Yeah, you want to kind of morph your world into it. So on LinkedIn, on Twitter, you want to like unfollow anyone that's not going to you want to follow all of your customers, right? You want to see what they're doing so that every day you're getting the newest things in your feed and you're liking them and you're commenting on them and you're keeping in touch with people on a human level. So enterprise sales is actually quite simple because when people think about enterprise sales, what makes a really good sales reps are really project managers. They're not sales reps. They're
Hmm.
people that are able to bring all of the pieces, getting engineering involved, getting the technical involved, getting the NDA signed, going through all that stuff. They're project managers. So think about building your enterprise sales business as project managing your entire stuff. All of this is going to take 7 to 10 to 15 touches before you potentially are going to get a sale. So
Okay.
you have to ask yourself, like, are you putting in those daily, those like every weekly, monthly touches? Because the customer might not be down to buy right now. They're probably going to be down in 3 quarters. But here's the difference between a good sales rep and a bad sales rep. A good sales rep touches base every month, just something small like, how's your dog doing? Find out if they like their dog. Find something that makes me human because you're talking to someone on Zoom. Find something that attaches you to that person. And it takes work. Like, you have to get to know the person. Other sales reps will just call them in 9 months. Who are they going to work with? The person that's been talking with them for the last 9 months, or for the person that's just hits them up like out of the blue,
Yeah.
So, and this is, people do business with people they like at the end of the day. And people do business with people they trust too. So if they can't trust that you're going to stay plugged in, like, how are they going to trust you with their business?
So the sales cycles, are those are typically 2 to 4 quarters away, or from your initial point of contact, what is like the average sales cycle for enterprise sales?
For like mid-market, a good situation would be 3 to 6 months. If it's a smaller tier, sometimes for startups, you can get them in under 3 months, especially if the product's built out, you can close those the same month.
Hmm.
But typical enterprise sales, you go through a month demo, you have to figure out success and evaluation criteria. Then you have to evangelize to all the C-suite, and then you got to pull in the different, companies and divisions, and then they have to isolate to see which ones are going to be most hyper relevant. You don't want to bring in too much people because then it
How
gets
do you do that?
complicated.
That's good. A lot of people get lost. I've worked with a lot of sales reps where they spend too much time with the influencer, and there's nothing like wrong with that as long as you're aware of the actual capabilities that person has on either influencing the decision or actually making the decision, which they typically don't. So how do you identify that?
You want to find a champion, generally speaking, and you want to have sales process. So, I love the whole phrase BMANTER: budget, mandate, access, need, timing, risk, but there's a bunch of them like medic and these types of things. You want to find a champion that by working with you, they look like the hero in their company. So now all you're doing is helping the champion actually bring the deal home. So if you offer value to a company, then that champion's going to sell internally. And they're going to listen to that person that works there a lot more than they're going to listen to Drew Lasky on Zoom.
Hmm.
So all you're trying to do is identify the mobilizers, the people that have gotten deals done. And you can figure out who the mobilizers are by asking them very direct questions. Like, hey, have you onboarded any software in the last 3 months? After you have built a relationship with them, of course, you want to just start off like that. But find
Hmm.
out, have they done deals? Or are they just, someone that's not wasting time, but they're just not people that take action? You need to find the people that were involved in the deals, right? So you could go on their website and look at press releases. You can look at blogs, read their blogs. Like, who's writing those blogs? Use that as an opportunity to reach out to those people. There's just a lot of different touch points, but you want to find a champion and you want to latch a mandate onto a need. So like the idea between need and mandate, everyone has a need, but not everyone has a mandate. A mandate's coming from the top. A mandate's coming from the CEO. We need to lower carbon emissions by 20%. A need is like, we want to drive more efficiently, right? So if you can figure out a way that proves that you're going to be able to lower carbon emissions and latch that need on to the bigger mandate, now you can drive past all of the blockers of an enterprise deal. Those people are the ones that make a lot of money. But on the flip side is, so many times you get into a deal where someone has a need but not a mandate, and you go through this extensive evaluation and you tell everyone the deal's going to close and it doesn't.
There's nothing worse than that. I don't care how good you are as a salesperson, everybody has experienced that multiple times. It is the worst feeling ever. And it's all that work. And at the end of the day, it doesn't turn into any commission and no money coming home.
Yeah.
So taking this even like deeper, you have the mandate and you have the need, and then you have all these influencers, and then you're trying to then tie in multiple touches in between these meetings. What's something that you've done to like convert that need into a mandate while working with an influencer, decision maker directly.
Tough because you can always influence, but you can't change. So like you can't just turn someone that's cold because you're a good sales rep, right? If they don't have that mandate, you're wasting your time.
Mm-hmm.
You need to first of all have a product that solves a real problem, because if you can save someone money or save them time or make them more efficient, then you have something of value. But a lot of times people are just like selling a product that people don't really need. So, ask yourself like, am I actually, if I were them, would I buy from me? Like, if you can make that so compelling, you can sell, right? But if you wouldn't buy your own product because you don't even believe in it, you shouldn't be selling that product. You probably should find something else. Kind of like what you did in your career. Like you got really passionate about something else,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where your heart and soul was. And that's why you're successful at it now, because you're putting your heart and soul into it. I know I kind of went a little off topic there, but
No, but that's a good point though. It's like once you learn sales, you can take your skill set and move into other industries. And yeah, look, there's different nuances, and that's the reason why we have the show, so we can share with the audience what the different, processes are like in different industries. But once you learn those skills of isolating the objection, uncovering what their actual need is and what their problems are and how the problems are affecting their business and what their business looks like after those problems are solved and why they can't wait to solve those problems and they need to happen now, you can translate that into really any industry. So, and it goes to show, I mean, you're the perfect example. You've gone into three major industries. You've been able to take everything from network marketing and put it into enterprise sales. And then enterprise sales, now you're growing this super cool cigar business, which I do want to talk about right now to kind of wrap up before we get into the final four. But your cigar business, I mean, you're working with some really amazing endorsers, doing a lot of cool stuff too with the community on a couple of your partnerships. So just really quick for the audience, just tell them a little bit more about your cigar business and how it could possibly benefit them as well.
yeah, well, first off, it's cigars.com with an S, not
With
a
an
C.
S.
Cigars.com, 6-letter domain, phenomenal. I accidentally got into cigars.com. I've tried many businesses in my life, but never really had true heart and soul into them. And cigars, everything lined up. I was working with, one of my best friends who is an ex-UFC and NFL sports agent. And it started off with us just wanting to do a partnership with a UFC athlete. And then that merged into doing partnerships with athletes from the UFC, PGA, NASCAR. And it was just a lot of fun, right? And I think the biggest lesson is you always have to be open to pivoting and you have to test the market, right? If you have passion, it's fuel, but eventually that fuel runs out if you're not making money, right? So use that fuel to keep pivoting until you find product market fit. So for us, we ended up doing a deal. This is a great story for the audience. We ended up doing a deal with this PGA golfer. He ends up connecting us with this really awesome charity called Folds of Honor. It's a military nonprofit. They've done such amazing things. And then through Folds of Honor, we got connected into the world of promotional marketing. Promotional marketing is the world where you take your logo, like Andrew Lasky Incorporated, cash flow and commissions, and you put it on a mug. That's what promotional marketing is. And we realized there was no one in the cigar space doing it. So then we became niched. Our niche became the number one cigar suppliers for the promotional marketing industry. So now I wasn't selling cigars to like Joe from, down the street who wants to buy one cigar for $20. Now we sell a minimum of 60 cigars per order, with our average order being over $1,500 an order. So I'd rather do big orders than small orders, because you're going to spend the same amount of time on a big order as you would a small order. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You're getting higher revenue per client, and that's how you're building your business. You know what, Ian? This is what I want to do for everybody that's listening right now, and I think you'd be okay with this. Why don't we do a discount code for the first time buyers? Let's do, what do you say, 10%? 10%, use the code TCCS. Commissions Cash Flow Show, TCCS, 10% off, cigars.com. That's with an S. Hopefully that's okay.
Let's do it.
It's an
Totally
amazing
down. That's
story.
cool. Yeah, just
Great
shoot.
business. I'm a customer, and it's a phenomenal business. So, Ian, we're going to get to the final part of our show, which is called the Final Four. These are the same four questions that we ask every single guest. The first one being, what is your favorite sales book or sales movie?
I mean, first of all, sales movie. I just love The Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, that's so funny. I mean, it's a degenerate. It's a horrible, like, judgy book. Like, judge me all you want, but that just makes me laugh every single time. But if the 4 agreements is a good one too, understanding like who you are as a person is really good, but I'd go Wolf of Wall Street all day.
Okay. Okay. Question number 2. What's one sales tactic or strategy that completely changed sales for you in terms of adding more revenue to your, top line and bottom line?
Number one, be insanely good at customer service. Listen, it costs you nothing to respond to an email fast. Nothing pisses me off worse than you get an email, and if you don't know the answer, just tell them quickly you don't know the answer, but you're going to get back to them. If you just respond to people in a timely manner, you're immediately in the top 5% of your entire industry. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question number 3. What is your favorite purchase that you've ever made with a large commission check?
Well, my first large commission check, I was in college. I was 21. I was in a fraternity, like such a typical frat bro move. I made like $3,000 and I spent it all on a speaker system. I got a 1400-watt Behringer subwoofer and it just shook the entire building and it made me so happy. So that's a silly one. And then a good one was a down payment on my first home. And that came from an exit opportunity, which was huge. And nothing feels better than just to be able to be in your own walls and your own little kingdom and do what you do.
And that one is now a rental as well, providing you cash flow. So you took the commission and you turned it into cash flow. There we go, baby.
There it
And
is.
then last question, knowing what you know now, if you lost it all and you had to start over, what's the first thing that you would do in the terms of sales?
I'd say I'd build my brand faster. I mean, that's the easiest thing you can do, right? Become an expert fast, start a podcast, start putting stuff out there and become an expert in your field. I always talk about this. We have a good friend, Chris, right? He's a finance guy. His niche is finance, corporate finance. He's been grinding at it his whole life. And now he's built to a point where he has a skill set that people pay for. So identify a skill set that people pay a lot of money for and then work on building that skill set. If you start young, 10 years from now, you'll be anywhere you want. So that's my message. Build your brand faster, identify a skill set, and start working on learning and growing as fast as possible.
I love it. Ian, if people want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
I love you, Drew. You're so good at this. You're so good at podcasting. This is awesome. You can find me at Ian Lenhart on Instagram. You can check us out at cigars.com. You can check yourself out. You can get custom boxes. It's something we did for Angels Envy. You can check it out. Really want to impress your clients, get them some custom cigars. But hit me up on Instagram, and it's a damn good day to have a damn good day. But now's the time. Let's get it.
Awesome. Ian Lenhart, thank you so much for being on the show, and I will talk to you soon, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.